Many, it's an uncomfortable but ultimately necessary discussion. What's the plan for taking care of your parents when they're no longer able to care for themselves?
Yeah, questions like, do you know what kind of care your parents can afford, and will some of that burden fall on you? Joy is joining us to show us where you can turn for help.
And you know, we all go through this, Kent, Mary. If your parents are like mine, you know, they just don't discuss their finances. So when my father needed specialized health care fast, my sister and I suddenly had to review and digest decades of our parents' financial dealings just to figure out how they could afford my dad's mounting medical bills. Well, here in the Jacksonville area, there are resources you can turn to, you can use for help getting that conversation even started, and it may not cost you much. They're beautiful on the outside, luxurious on the inside. Senior communities designed to provide your aging parents with pampered living in their golden years. 93-year-old Joyce Shirley just moved into Watercrest Senior Living this year.
I know that I hated to leave my private home, but sometimes you have to, and I don't have to cook anymore.
That's a good thing. Who wouldn't want their loved one to indulge in fine dining every day, enjoying apartment-style living while others cater to them? But can you or your parents afford this carefree life? If money isn't something your parents feel comfortable discussing with you, you may need to visit an elder care attorney like Vicki Bowers. She specializes in finding cost-effective ways to plan for your parents' future. She says the older generation doesn't like to talk about their personal finances, even with family, which can lead to confusion when it's time for adult children to make health care decisions.
It's not always the way they think it is, and they're quite surprised sometimes that things are not set up the way they thought.
Look happy.
That's why Bowers combines her love for animals with her passion to help seniors by allowing Sadie to roam free in her office, helping older guests relax. One piece of advice Bowers shares, be sure to name specific people who will oversee your parents' finances and health care.
And so it's important, particularly in blended families, or if you have children that don't agree, or you're a single individual, it's really important to have that in place and in writing.
Bowers says the price to see an elder care attorney can vary from a flat fee of a few $100s to an hourly rate, just depending on how complicated the financial situation is for whomever is footing your loved one's expenses.
What we do for our elderly or disabled clients is very different than what we're going to do for estate planning for a young couple with toddlers.
If one of your parents was in the military, Joe Solsana has made it his life's calling to get veterans and their spouses the monetary benefits promised to them that they may not know exist.
Right now, there's 22 million veterans in the United States. And you add another 20 million spouses, that's 42 million. And out of that, there's only probably about 300,000 that have fully taken advantage of the benefits. And it's a small percentage.
Solsona founded the National Association of Veterans and Families about 10 years ago when his aging aunt was told there were no military benefits available for her, even though her deceased husband served in the military. It costs just $9 for NAVF's services by becoming a member. His biggest advice, if you use any service organization to help you find money from the military, be sure the person you're working with is experienced.
Are they doing it part-time? Are they full-time? Are they strictly a volunteer? Because learning how to navigate the VA, you can't learn from a book. It comes from experience.
These financial support companies and others can help bring down the cost of caring for your elderly parents and figure out what you can afford as new assisted living communities are either under construction or just opening their doors for the first time all across our area and in different price ranges. Now, once you figure out the budget you have for your aging parents, you can look at the options available. As we showed you on News4JAX at 5, you might be surprised to find out your parents' current living expenses may be the same amount it would cost for all the amenities available at an assisted living facility. If you missed that story, you'll find it right now on news4jax.com. And one of the assisted living facility marketing directors we spoke with had one rule of thumb for when you're checking out facilities for your parents. Taylor Campbell of Seacrest Village in Fleming Island says, do not make an appointment, just show up. And on that unscheduled tour, you're looking to see what daily life is really like without a chance for them to plan for your arrival. Also, she says, look for friendly interaction between employees and residents. You'll get a great idea of how your loved one will be treated there. And pay attention to cleanliness. Bad smells, spills, they're going to happen. Well, what's important is how quickly they're cleaned up. And since you're making such a big decision for your loved one, Campbell says, trust your initial instincts. Kent and Mary, she says, if you don't get the warm and fuzzies when you're sitting down with the salesperson or other staff there, don't let your loved one move in, because you're going to have to deal with that team of workers every day in
with
consulting.
your gut.
And I love that piece of advice, because at the end of the day, you're going to have a hard time living with it if you don't trust that the people that are caring for your loved one are giving them every bit of care that you would.
My sister and I were just talking about this like yesterday, and she reminded me that, you know, Mom and Dad did not plan to be living well into their 90s. And that's where we are in my family, in 94. And so, you know, you really think about that. And I know your dad, was he 93?
He was 90. He would have been 93,
would have been 93 this weekend. And so I think that generation, they planned for the future, but not everybody planned for living in your 90s.
You've done one thing smart. You have family members, other sisters and brothers who live near your mother now. We didn't have that luxury. So I was flying back and forth from you know, Florida. My sister's in North Carolina, and that just adds the taxing and the frustrations and the emotion to all of this. So part of my advice that I put online as well on this story on news4jax.com, leave within an hour of your parents, or at least someone who can take care of them. Within an hour, it gives you at least enough distance to be able to get to them if they need a voice.
Yeah, my parents had 6 kids, so, you know,
Holy cow.
there's going to be somebody there for you. You know, it helps to have a big family sometimes.
Really important information, Joy.
Thank you, Joy.